A very good morning to all. Welcome to today's webinar, The Future of Business. We are gathered here today to participate a very informative yet building seminar through the web, and so a webinar conducted by Diploma in Business Studies Club or DBES from your ATM campus Alur Gajah as a community service to students and staffs, local community, as well as the general public. Before we proceed, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Hama Sakina, and I will be your host for today's program. We feel honored to have with us Dr. Ahmad Fadil bin Arham. Okay, kita habiskan tu. We are going to start our webinar with the National Anthem and Wawasan Setia Warga UITM. Next, to bless today's event, I would like to call upon Muhammad Rakwan bin Cik Ramli to recite the prayer. Tadi juga ke video tu? Okay, faham. Amin, amin, ya Rabbal Alamin. Thank you, Muhammad Rakwan bin Cik Ramli. Before further ado, I would like to welcome our head of program, Amirul Irsyad bin Zamri Farid, to give his welcome speech. Video juga ke? What an inspiring hopes and dreams he had for all of us. To kick off the program, please allow me to welcome our Head of Study for Faculty of Business and Management UiTM Melaka, Dr. Ahmad Fadli bin Arham, to officiate today's Future of Business webinar. Video lagi. With that being said, let us all get to know about our panel for today. First up, Miss Intan Ilyani. She is the second child in the household, a caring mom, an ex-banker, a successful leader, and very laser on her business adventure Face & Co. Face & Co is a beauty firm. It is proudly Malaysian despite formulating their ingredients in a few countries. She wants to have a contagious impact on the positivity of life. She has always had a love for fashion and professional branding. Instead of getting happy in the business world, she wanted to come out on her own and she felt she should do something else. Until today, she continues to aspire and extend Face & Co to make women feel empowered and stay true to their positive values. Next, we have Mrs. Wan Nurhayati Abdul Rahman, an excellent graduate from University of Nottingham in Master of Business and Administration, and also a graduate from Pennsylvania State University, Bachelor of Science in Geoscience with minor in Economics. She is also the co-founder of Ailapa Signature, a brand aimed at making cooking easier and tastier for everyone using their food paste. As a co-founder of a new startup, she and her team did their own market research and digital marketing strategy as a cost optimization measure. They adopt digitalization and practice flexible work arrangement. Also, she is a consultant and certified trainer, RAD Consulting Services, where she helps aspiring entrepreneurs and existing business owners to navigate current fast-paced, dynamic, and digitalized business landscape through consultations, trainings, and knowledge sharing postings. Next, I would like to pass the baton to our moderator for today, Sarah Suhaimi.
Thank you very much to my fellow mates. School primary, aku macam redundant. Sorry. Mute. Mute lepas tu. Okay. Okay. So nanti kau kena kick, maksudnya lepas masanya aku masuk kau kena keluar. So nanti aku takkan ganggu kau. So macam kau macam tak adalah macam kita macam kelang kabut kau masuk kau kat situ je. Aku kena berdiri lah. Tak kisahlah kalau kau duduk kau duduklah. So faham tak flow dia macam ni? So macamnya tak adalah macam hari tu kan macam kau kena bangun, kena keluar masuk kan. So macam itu tak ada. So macam instead of satu laptop aku satu laptop. Okay. Can I start? Alright. Okay, thank you very much to my fellow mates. Icat tak masuk ke? Icat hilang.
Umai. Ni stream kat YouTube terus tak?
Ya, sekarang tengah stream kat YouTube.
4 minit je biar aku cakap.
Gulat. Dah go live. Tak, Icat keluar. Icat tak ada. Tak boleh masukkan dia. Cuba tengok bawah tu. Ada nama Icat tak bawah? Okay.
Adalah Aisyah Suruh.
Alah, Chan. Okay, Q.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much to my fellow mate Salma Sakinah who emceeing for me today, and now it's now my time to shine. To begin with, our today. Semakinlah serius. Jangan gelak-gelak boleh tak? Tu orang hujung. Okay. Okay, thank you very much to my fellow mate Salma Sakinah, for being today MC, and she's very, very generous for early in the morning, especially, for today. Our webinar is regarding Revolutionary Industry 4.0. And Revolutionary Industry 4.0 is something is not being known yet, especially towards the youth in Malaysia, and towards this youth doesn't know what is Revolutionary Industry could impact their life. And especially today, me as a moderator, to bring a healthy discussion and really informational discussion regarding how COVID-19 become a catalyst to Revolutionary Industry 4.0, alongside with the panel speaker that being introduced just now, Mrs. Wan, and also Miss Intan Ilyani. Today, let me begin with the first question. So, especially Revolution Industry 4.0 is something is, technological. And if we technological, link it with businesses, it's almost like we're aware that this technology will take over our life. And oftenly we have our own definition of technology. So my first question is towards both our panel today. So according to you, what is Industrial Revolution 4.0? Miss Intan, would you like to give a bit of things that you know what is IR 4.0? Miss Intan is Umay.
Okey, sekejap. Oh, okey, sekejap ya. Saya tengah testing. Kejap. Dia bercakap ni, boleh dengar ke? Dekat tu. Okey. Ni, boleh dengar ke? Boleh dengar lah Kak. Okey, sebenarnya. Lepas, ha.
Lambat.
Yelah, mestilah lambat. Ada.
Aku macam tengah lama-lama orang tu baru cakap hai.
Okay.
Oh ni, daripada YouTube yang Hamzah hantar ni. Appear tak dekat situ?
Ada? Ni.
Try.
Tak ada.
Okay, so the question, you cakap something industrial revolution. Sarah, you tanya soalan ni tadi.
Oh yes. Miss Intan, what is your own definition of Industrial Revolution 4.0, especially towards your business itself?
You memang tak dengar? Okay, as for me, the terms of industrial revolution is something very particular, especially in the era of 21st century. We are needing to be acknowledge the importance of industrial revolution in business industry because of the advance of blah 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 and so the I tak tahu cakap apa dah.
Miss Intan, amazingly how I related close enough, towards your definition of Industrial Revolution 4.0. So let's move on to, Mrs. Wan. What is your own definition of Industrial Revolution 4.0?
Kena pandang.
Tak ada, sebab sekarang dia dekat sini. Saya patutnya panggil dah sini.
Tak, dia dalam tu lah.
Miss Wan, are you okay? Are you there?
Dia
Dia sikit tau nanti. So macam memang ada orang.
Ya, tapi macam kena tu lah.
in my opinion in my opinion I is blah 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 blah.
Takkan sikit saya makan nasi. Semalam saya makan nasi lemak.
I love the revolution.
Interestingly how, both our panel speaker have different perspective regarding Industrial Revolution 4.0. I think it's a way we should have our own Industrial Revolution 4.0 from our own perspective of our own understanding. So yeah. So I think towards this kind of discussion, we should own your our listener, to be aware what your own your own definition of Industrial Revolution 4.0. Apa? Tak tarik naik atas apa?
Tak. Sakinah dah dia nak tengok muka dia dalam screen juga.
Dah apa lagi terus tak ada.
Okay. So let's move on to the second questions. Let me allow me to state my curiosity. All right. So the basic narrative is that 3 times in the past there are several breakthrough technology, and that by occurring larvae contextually resulted in the nature of our work, and by extension of our life being unpended, we have the first industrial revolutions, the second industrial revolution, and the third industrial revolution. The argument goes on the third revolution has come to an end. And then now we are embarking towards the fourth industrial revolutions. We will told that fact barriers the hodgepodge of new technology, including 3D printing, artificial intelligence AI, big data analytics, cloud computing, augmented reality, robotics, and Internet of Things or IoT. But these new technologies really deliver to their promises, of bringing about the fourth industrial revolutions. Or this whole narrative that I just said just now, it is a marketing gimmick, for people to be attracted more towards the current technology. So what do you think regarding this, Mrs. Wan? Ichat, Miss Ichat, Mr. Ichat, regarding this narrative.
Dia cari tu suara.
Kita akan bagi jawapan clear je.
Okay. Okay.
Jawapan dia.
Okay, in my opinion, this narrative is relevant. That's from me.
That's
Okay.
from you. It's very interesting that you think this narrative is relevant because I'm aware how youth itself doesn't accept technology or how boomers, how boomers, unaware regarding this matter. So you would like to add some things regarding this narrative, our Mrs. Intan?
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Interesting how you agree to such topic. We now believe that how technology helping us. Do you agree technology does help you both of you guys businesses? Especially 3D printing of IoT. How they carry data and so on. Do you agree to such statement? What about you, Miss Intan?
I do agree that the implementation of Internet of Things is really improving my business, especially in the advancements of technology during this pandemic situation that we have facing. So as for now, I'm clearly stating that practicing Internet of Things in my business methods in assisting the affirmations of my business will be very beneficial for those who trying to set up their entrepreneurship introductory.
I agree to such statement, Mrs. Dan. Very interesting argument you're bringing there. So what do you think regarding this matter, Mrs. Wan? Mrs. Wan? Mrs. Wan?
Wake up, Mrs. Wan.
Mrs. Wan? Okay, Mrs. Wan agreeing to what Miss Intan just say just now. So let's move on to our third question of the day. I would like to address this question to Miss Intan, especially in the regards of the current pandemic, especially pandemic that happening in Malaysia. Do you agree that COVID-19 is now become a catalyst towards Malaysia Industrial Revolution 4.0?
Kata kau apa?
Pemangkin, catalyst. Yeah, catalyst of the change. Yes, catalyst. Yes. What do you think? Does do you agree COVID-19 become a catalyst? Okay.
Okay, as from my perspective as the entrepreneurships that have been in the industry for 4 years, I do think that it's really that the RI for me is the COVID-19 is the catalyst of the improvement in business industry because of the technologies that help us from meeting up with the others in doing the possibilities that we cannot do, especially in this pandemic, and also allowing us to be active even though we have the restrictions to not being together.
Yes, I would like to agree to such statement, because these days we rely more on the internet comparing we rely on the information on the book, and especially we have Industrial Revolution 4.0. It actually is definitely help, especially local businesses in Malaysia to improve to the extent of the international marketing itself. So I would I really found or fondly interestingly to your agreement like such things. Okay, so now let's move on to the fourth question of the day. Amidst of the COVID-19, it say that a ripple of IoT, Internet of Things, refers to the billions of physical devices around the world that are not connected to the internet and collecting data and also sharing data at the same time. It has become a tsunami. It has become a phenomenon. So why is IoT now is an inflection point, and what are the factors? Yeah, do you um I would like to address this such questions, to Mrs. Wan. Mrs. Wan, do you know about what is IoT, and now do you aware like factors that causes the IoT to to become towards this inflation state? Yeah, mesti lah lambat.
Apa tu soalan dia?
Jawab je.
IoT is becoming a tsunami in this community right now.
Okay. Yeah, I could see where your point's going through, Mrs. Wan. Especially, we keep using the internet these days, and it definitely have become like a main factor in our life, especially we are relying more on it towards the internet rather than relying more information towards the books. So so let's move on to the now. This question is the first question really embarking me to give to Miss Intan. Miss Intan, it's safe to say that we have a lot of IT geniuses in Malaysia. However, some of them are currently unemployed, or we are not really appreciate enough our IT geniuses in Malaysia. But however, in the US, for example, the 27-year-old mechanic graduate is able to secure a job in NASA. It's a very such big company. Conversely, in Malaysia, a 23 years old could never secure a job. I mean, RR 4.0 is known to be the age of data, and yet, based on what I mentioned earlier, it seems that Malaysia is nowhere near to it. So, what is your point in regards of this matter? Regarding especially unemployment among youth, Miss Intan.
Speaking of unemployment, especially in specialization technology, we do agree that even though in the 21st century that we are facing right now in Malaysia, in our own country, we cannot object that the current political situations are influencing the employment of our kepakaran teknologi daripada graduates yang pakar bla. So aside from the political situation that influencing the employments of technological expertise, I do agree that we still lack of the systems in practicing the advance of technology in our own society. So I do think that if we introduce or do the front introductions earlier in secondary or in university phase, we do be expecting a new kind of society in the next 10 years that will be advanced in technological setup lah.
Okay. Yeah, especially interestingly we could see like how employment really impact especially youth in Malaysia. So this this unemployment employment factors is not just regarding in local entrepreneurs, especially appreciating IT businesses, appreciating youth itself, to improve our current economy really plays like a really main role in our industry, especially business industry. So what do you think regarding this matter of employment, Mrs. White? Especially you as a business owner yourself, do you face such things, in your experience or and so on, Mrs. Wan? Okay. So Mrs. Wan, I think Mrs. Wan's statement is really triggered. Yeah, Mrs. Wan, really triggers towards me how youth and employment is a very equal things. When there's youth, there's an employment, especially based on the economics in Malaysia itself. We don't have more jobs opportunities, and we don't really appreciate it, science and technology here. So I think in this end of 21st century, in working of especially industrial revolution 4.0, we could be aware that we needed the youth, to play more roles inside this industry. Do you agree to such statement, Miss Intan and Mrs. Wan? Okay, I think both our panel speaker agree. Yeah. So let's move on to the sixth question of the day. Citing from a World Economic Forum report, MDEC CEO of Surya Shukri said that 65% of students now in the primary school will end up working in jobs that were yet to be created. My question is, do you think by incorporating core digital subject into the school syllabus and improving students' access to online learning in rural area will be sufficient? Because the industry that these young creative minds are expected to be dominant, including the digital content sector, digital financing, startup space, e-commerce, automations, robotic, anything empowered via Internet of Things, and any service operating in the gig of economy. Do you mind to share some thoughts regarding this matter, Mrs. Wan? Mrs. Wan? Okay, okay. I think Mrs. Wan, yeah, I do agree. We need more technology in the rural area, especially because you know we need to find gyms, especially the malls. We need to like sharpen the skill of these youth, especially allowing them to have more access, to the current technology, more access to like online classes and so on. We could see during the pandemic, our students is now have facing difficulties, especially in online learning. So yeah, let's move on to like. Do you mind to share some thoughts regarding this matter, Miss Intan? Miss
Jelas
Intan.
program bahasa Inggeris apa?
Huh? Huh?
Jelas program.
Regarding like should like government of Malaysia imply like digital core subject into the school syllabus and allowing more online accesses towards online access towards the in the rural area, especially for online learning and so on.
Program. Tadi fakulti coordinator. Fakulti coordinator. Ni program.
I need to read more though, super. I need to read more and then okay.
Madam ke?
Okay, we could see like both opinions. I would definitely like interesting opinions from both our panel speaker. Regarding this matter. I think this matter should be taken to the higher ups, especially to the government of Malaysia, the Ministry of Education itself. Because it involving the education of the youth, it involving the youth to gain more access to this online learning, to its access to this digital course out there, especially plays a really important role in today's industry and especially in the 21st centuries. So let's move on to like the seventh question of the day. The introduction of Industry 4.0 has made some people felt threatened, especially me, the youth, and so on, people who are unemployed itself. They are not ready to welcome the change as they are concerned about robots taking over humans' jobs or tasks, as a fully autonomous robot is one of the main pillars of Industrial 4.0. To suit the change, to suit such change, especially the change of mind, especially what should be done, especially in terms of you, what their skill they need to possess, what is the current industry want from this use itself, Miss Intan. Miss Intan, like, do you think okay? Miss Intan, especially you are local entrepreneurs, you have your own beauty firm, embarking towards the international marketing itself. You are aware, you are taking, especially your team is, I think I'm agreeing could see that your company is now booming, especially in the current local market. do you think like do you look for a certain capabilities or certain skill from like our youth for you during their job seeking? You know, what kind of skill they should possess like could attract you for taking their jobs?
As we are talking about the industrial 4.0, the advancements of technology, I do hope that the local graduates, especially from our local university, will be technically advanced with their own expertise in editing skills, and also something related to the advancement of technology by promoting our business that will sustain my business in the future. But we do be giving opportunities towards the graduates that comes from rural areas, or the graduates that comes from the in expertise. It's not in expertise, the lower expertise area, that we are going to train them because of the position as the fresh graduates. Their lack of experience, but we cannot blame them because of the inexperience. But we are here to help them in order to even, it's quite challenging in the first 2 years or in the first few years being employed by our business, but it's okay if we can sustain the benefits that they will gain in the future.
Yeah, I would like to like just give like a quick, especially when our local entrepreneurs saying like what we needed, especially in the industry, you should take notes, our fellow listener, especially youth like myself who will be graduate next year. You should be aware like these changes that are happening around us and what skill that we needed to possess and so on. So I think as a local entrepreneur itself, Mrs. Wan, do you like seek a certain skills or a certain capabilities from especially the youth itself during their job seeking and interviews, especially during the interview you could see like a difference, you can differentiate between like one youth to another youth. So what are you seeking especially in your working environment, Mrs. Wan? Mrs. Wan hilang Mrs. Wan. Okay. Interestingly, yeah, everyone take notes, especially my fellow mates, my fellow friends. Take notes. Especially regarding the skill you need and so on, and then sharpen your skill, and then probably inshallah in the future you will get involved in this such industry, especially the business management industries. No, now we down to the last three question, and I think this last three question is more to both our panel speakers, because also this last this question is more regarding IR 4.0, especially what's the barriers and challenges and so on. So to begin with the first questions. Also it is true RR 4.0 technology will replace our job. Do you agree to such statement? RR 4.0 robots and so on technology will take over humans job. Do you agree to such statement, Miss Intan first?
We are talking about the advancements in IR technology in our own country. As we all know that the earlier introduction of IR 4.0 started from the Western countries that influenced us to be as modestly as them. So as we are nearing at the action complexity of being technology with the advancements of IR 4.0, I do think that the implications from the advancement is we are actually losing job towards the technologies, the robots and all other stuff. But we do be in actual realization that in the next 10 years we are still depending on the human force itself, not only depending on the technologies itself, because we do agree that sometimes the implication will happen in the future, and also we cannot depend solely on the energy around us. So the fact that people saying the implications of industrial revolution that will marginalize our own working experience later in the future is not really 100% true as for me, because I think that we still need human expertise, especially in medical excellency, and also the accountancy and business industry.
Okay, the last two question. interestingly, because we still need humans and technology, go with each other hand by hand. When there's your humans, then no technology to begin with. Especially we cannot forsaken such technology will take over us. We should improve, towards this technology and revolving ourselves. Because we are human being and we are learning each by day. And without us, there's no technology existed to begin with. Especially IoT and so on. So I will like to agree to such statement. Aku asyik cakap I agree to such statement je dari tadi. It's okay. I will change that to I won't deny. Yes, yes, yes. Can you like if tomorrow like kita arrange that? Yes, thank you very much regarding this matter. You know, I won't deny to such statement, to such facts, especially we discussing regarding this matter. So let's move on to the second last question, which is what do you think are the barriers of IR 4.0? Especially in the local industry itself. What is the barriers of Industry Revolution 4.0, Miss Intan? Barriers of IR 4.0. Especially in your own businesses. Do you think like it's very difficult, to impute industry revolutions?
Mm, as for my own business experience, I do feel like my difficulty will be facing on the implementations of the technology in our working methods. As for the few early years in our own business working methods, because I do think that we need to properly plan our working schedules or working activities by following the advancements of technologies, by not lacking the optional human force that requires us to be saling berkomunikasi antara satu sama lain lah, and so all these things.
Yeah. you know, especially if from your own perspective, do you think that this barrier can be overcome? These barriers that you state just now, especially imputing this status quo of Industrial Revolution 4.0.
By seeing the opportunity and also fully focusing on being on a positive side of my own industry, I do think we can overcome this kind of difficulties and inexperience, because we, as you are stating earlier, that we are learning day by day. So we are not going to be defeated by the technology because we are the one who made it. And also, I do think that if we keep on being affirmed with our own motivations and also our own initiative to be advanced with the technology, and it's not going to be any problem to be overcoming this kind of problem.
Yes, yes. I'm aware that this kind of barriers could definitely be overcome, especially from both intelligence, both from our speaker. Nothing is impossible. We should make impossible possible, especially in such industries. Okay, let's move on to the final question of the day before we move on to our Q&A. Especially from I wanted this perspective coming from both our panel speaker. So, do you think it's crucial to be a pilot trial for every technology that comes in? Especially in the business industry. Do you think that we should have a trial first, or we should just go ahead with any technology that being spread to us? Tak ada, panel tu tak ada. Panel tu dah hilang. Asal. Siapa yang tengok kita punya live sekarang ni? You Haa. Tak ada bateri. Mak ke?
Answering your questions earlier, as for the last question, I do think that if we want to have the smooth procedure in the future, we do really have to do the pilot study first before implementing the technology fully completed in our own working methods. But by saying doing the trial and error activities is really crucial to be only with our working environment that are ready to be facing with the advancements of technology. That's all. I do agree with the pilot studies method before we implementing the actual industrial revolution technologies in my own business.
Thank you, Miss Intan, for your delightful peace of mind. Peace of mind. Yeah, delightful peace of mind. And because I could see like especially in each every technology that being applied to us, we should have a trial before it because we doesn't know the risk of especially each new technology being applied in our company, especially the safety of our own privacy. Right now we are really open to more information, but at the same time we're trying to keep the privacy of our life at the same time, and especially technological involving in technology involving in especially in big company. Information plays a really important role and privacy also plays a really important role. I think I agree to such statement that we should put trials to every such technology that we imply in our industries. So now it's come to the end of our discussion for today, and it's a very interesting discussion to begin with. Because every points that come from each panel speaker, I'm become more like aware. I've become more like um being more clear of why industrial revolution being impact to the current local, especially local entrepreneurs. Because me as a youth itself, I could become your workers one day probably, inshallah. Because being graduating, I also afraid of not securing any job in the future, or I would like try to start my own startup and so on. So in this kind of discussion, I really gain more things that I'm not really aware of before this. So thank you very much for both for our panel speaker. Before we end this discussion, let's gather some Q&A from our listener for today. Q&A 10 soalan cukup ke Q&A? Pakai data je lah esok. Q&A. So Miss Intan and Mrs. Wan, do you agree, can we like start the Q&A? I tahu. I just involving you. Can we start the Q&A now? From our fellow listener. Are you open to the Q&A sessions?
Yes, I'm eager to have the participants respond on our topic today. Yeah.
Okay. 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 Thank you very much for. We already come to the end of the discussion, and especially we involving our fellow listener with such a very interesting Q&A. Especially I would say, I didn't know where my fellow friends will have such question from today. Bayangkan je lah kan. Yes. Tak, sebenarnya tak buat pun. Kita akan gather daripada orang chat. Kalau tak ada, malam ni kena brainstorm. Mhm. Yeah, actually ada macam yes, I already prepared it. I already sent to each panel. Dah ada. Oh, you tak ada lah sebab you tak ada skrip tu kan. Skrip tu ada I dekat panel speaker kat kamar. Dekat BHA pun tak ada wayang audio ke? Ah. Oh ya. Boleh. Boleh. Ni kan? Ya. Yes. I think that could be input. Like misalkan bila I tanya, so I tanya satu soalan tu specific to like one panel speaker. So before I ask opinion tu macam lepas dia habis cakap yang second opinion regarding this matter tu, baru I macam one of the listener have like a really interesting question. I'm reading through this chat, especially from this chat. We aware this question from this listener. Sebut nama dia kan. Has such question, does panel speaker, can we have a quick break for the main question, to ask these such questions, because I think this could be like more interesting topic to discuss discussion. Yeah. Yes, enlightened. Can you like help me with that? Yeah. Okay. You know, I'm thank you very much to both my panel speaker of the day, for having like a really impactful discussion, giving so much information to our youth, to our listener of today. A big round of applause to both our panel speaker for dedicating their time and effort for today's webinar. So let me pass the baton to my fellow maths MC, for our today MC Salma Sakina, to continue the floor with fun games that which involve the listener and the speakers also. So yeah, Salma Sakina, masuk. Salma Sakina. Ending I. Ending I. Sana. Dah hilang. Akan kena appear untuk activity and dia akan end kan? Yes. Kina akan macam conclude, macam conclude tu macam bagi macam quick, macam tu lah, menariknya apa semua kan, bla bla bla. Interesting lah macam tu. 45 minutes because activity terus bagi hadiah.
Hadiah apa?
Hadiah is e-wallet punya tu. Maksudnya kalau you menang, so you dapat RM50 for terus ke RM50 terus your GrabFood account. Kita akan transferkan duit.
Aktiviti apa?
Aktiviti apa?
Korang dah habis moderate?
Dah habis dah. Actually, we take like about 40 minutes, right? For moderate, yeah. Averagely, because walaupun macam satu question to go to one question, even without the discussion, we already taken time for like 20 minutes. Just regarding the question for me from my perspective lah. So I think esok masih cukup lah 1 jam tu.
Sejam lebih.
Sejam lebih tu cukup.
Tapi kita tak reply masalahnya.
Hah?
Yang kata korang print nama lepas tu buat spin macam tu.
Oh ya? Yeah. Tak ada macam,
Ada soalan.
tak ada quiz ke?
Dia kata akan
Lepas tu? Apa jadi?
Post laptop tu sub mana?
Bang tak apa?
Ni ke?
Hello.
Ini lah, ni projek tu.
Sekejap tu mental.
Projek tu mana? Dia tak keluar speaker. Dia keluar suara, lain tu.
Kita pas di webinar esok kan?
So,
Kalau nak pas hari ni boleh. Cuma bagi tahu lah tekan untuk esok masuk. Kenapa nak link sekarang ke?
Dia kata,
Can I try?
I tanya voice call ke video call, lepas tu dia kata video call. Lepas tu dia tanya, you will send the webinar link tonight or how?
By
Tomorrow at 8. We will send the email towards you for the link for the webinar.
Kalau lagi 10 minit lagi pun orang-orang tak
Betul.
so takkan habis kalau berlari.
so maksudnya VIP akan nampak je.
Aja. Dia akan nampak. Dia akan nampak. So I macam feel pressure.
macam tu je lah. Kalau dah tak ada mana, kosong.
Okay kan? Okay, dia cakap sekarang ni kita nak tengah rehearsal. Miss Intan, do you want like kita try to enter the current testing trial? Cuba dia tanya kalau dia nak cuba masuk. I dah habis moderate tau. Patutnya tadi you tak ada
Aku dah
macam.
habis.
Kenapa?
Conversation dah habis. Kau nak tanya dia?
Cuba cakap.
We are rehearsing right now.
Oh my bad.
Nak bagi tahu ke? Icat!
Nak.
Sorry.
We are rehearsing right now. Do you want to try?
Ada earphone.
Tak.
Earphone ni earphone yang bulat
Pakai Bluetooth pun boleh.
Bluetooth tak ada.
Oh, tu tak ada apa. Lepas tu
Ni bukan lubang untuk iPhone.
cuba nak try. Boleh cepat.
Bukan.
Sebab itu untuk USB.
Kena tak boleh.
Umay, we need to like have this discussion regarding my script, especially comments. What do you think like a good comment could make? But just now I think it's more like me rumbling from each topic to another topic. For you. Data and so on, right? I think because this is like this more towards like patut ke industry revolution ni masuk dalam especially in business punya terms. Because okay, dia punya topic is what is IR 4.0, basically apa itu IR 4.0. And then we move on to like IoT, kenapa IoT ni sekarang ni macam plays a really such an important, really big impact ni, especially in the business industry. And then we move on to like unemployment, how Malaysia doesn't really appreciate you and how yeah.
Saya kenapa? Dah.
Ya. Actually macam to begin with macam okay, patut ke macam kita macam masuk macam what is IR 4.0 and so on, apa tu kan semua definition. Nampak kan? The three first question is about what is IR 4.0, what is IoT and so on. And then we move on to like another about the unemployment, about the education and what skill you should possess. And then last kali regarding to more to close to them, especially what barriers and so on. Because we don't want to talk about just about us. We also want to look like the local perspective what they are facing, especially in the revolution industry 4.0. Yeah. Because okay, when you look by student macam dia tak nampak dia relate sekarang sebab dia macam it's such a big topic. What is the use of this topic, kan? We focus on it again because we focus on revolution industry 4.0 because I rasa kan student macam sekarang take a really advantage, like really conservative. Dia be like I graduate diploma tu je yang tu diorang tak macam take chances of learn digital marketing, digital data and so on, especially like benda macam tu is macam kita nak bagi tahu lah sebab tu macam bila dimasukkan education and employment, me as a moderator I want to talk about it, yeah. Yes.
Sekarang ni kita akan main game Star, okay? Kalau ini dia buat daripada tanah, ini dia buat daripada rambut. Kau tak ada barang tu, korang aircon izin apa ni tu buat daripada tu. Okay, Amalia.
Education.
Betul.
Individual.
Yang lain tu tak main game ni?
Yes.
Wow. Isu wow sangat.
I think itu boleh masuk waktu last kot, especially I think a bit of inspiring factors, what causes you to do online businesses, especially the algorithm of Instagram, the algorithm of website. It's really like for me, I think I could select that towards the end, especially inspired, because both our panel speaker does come from a really different background from online businesses, digital marketing and so on. Yeah, this is host.
Yeah.
I think we could select that towards the end, could you give like, especially you both come from a really different background from, learning technological and so on.
Ramai ada. Kita kan patut minta dia nanti tahu. Bukti yang korang ada test tu. Nanti ada main tu nama je. Ada yang empat lain tu.
Itu boleh masuk towards the end, I think. Because especially we talk about barriers, we talk about difficulties, if we talk about difficulties, we also really need to like what motivate you to overcome the difficulties.
Sorry tu, activity ni.
Yeah, right. That's right.
Okay, tak nak ni tak.
Yes. Yeah. The education. We should possess.
Tinggi
What you're
betul,
looking
tinggi
for,
betul pergi tu. Sampai atas terus. Siapa dia? Gimana cik ni ada filter-filter ni? Takkanlah. Adakah aku start tu Cik Su mas tak? Cik Su masih tengah gelak lagi lah agak kau gambar. Kecil tiba-tiba dua orang.
Yes.
Macam mana nak kami ni?
Skill. Abilities to like to convey and so on lah. I see. Especially because you could look that same problems to the career because people won't say like job for the career because they don't have the experience. But if you don't give chances to this kind of youth, especially we could quote like one youth is camping followed by 10 old people in the jobs and so on. We could see like from that perspective, I guess. Do you give chances to such person, especially when they emerge to this new industry? Because sometimes we don't really need the experience from their past. We just need passions and their abilities and so on. I think for me that kind of points will be relevant in such discussions. Yeah. I takut nanti I jadi macam debate sebab dia mesti moderate.
Okay, esok kau tu lah. Esok kau buat tu lah. Esok nanti Yusuf macam tu lah. Supaya panjang event tu.
Ya ke?
Mana kali kita discuss?
Aku tak nak duduk tengah. Selama 3 jam. Betul tak? Dia akan duduk sekejap. Macam itu aku pengen tu duduk je. Kita belah. Aku terbang.
Sebab dia actually tak nampak kan. Moderator tak nampak diorang. Kita tak nampak diorang memang diorang belah.
Aku pun dah belah.
I'm arguing with my sex. No point.
Ni debate apa pula ni? Bergaduh ni.
Sarah, malam ni kita cancel appointment.
Hi everyone, boleh buka kamera masing-masing. I all jangan lupa korang punya muka lah, orang kata.
Malam ni ada